There's a moment that comes to everyone who seeks power, influence, or simply respect in this world. It's the moment when you realize that the person who talks the most is rarely the person people remember. That the one who shares every detail of their strategy is the first to be outmaneuvered. That in a world obsessed with transparency and radical openness, the people who truly shape outcomes are the ones who've learned to keep their mouths shut. Why is it that we confuse sharing with strength, when history shows us again and again that revelation is the fastest path to vulnerability? We live in an age that worships disclosure. Post your morning routine, share your trauma, document your process, make your thinking visible, live your life as performance, narrate your every move, turn your consciousness inside out for public consumption. The algorithm rewards confession. The culture celebrates those who bear all. We've been conditioned to believe that hiding anything means you have something to hide, that privacy is suspicious, that the authentic self is the fully revealed self. But stand back and look at what this creates. A generation of people who've told everyone everything, and wonder why nothing they say carries weight anymore. Leaders who telegraph every move and then act surprised when others counter them. Individuals who've shared every vulnerability and can't understand why people exploit rather than respect those weaknesses. We've confused authenticity with oversharing, wisdom with word count, depth with disclosure. What if the people who changed the world understood something we've forgotten? What if power has always belonged to those who know when to speak and when to stay silent? What if the secret isn't having nothing to hide, but knowing what to reveal and what to protect? That's where this journey takes us. Into the uncomfortable truth that Machiavelli identified in the blood-soaked politics of Renaissance Italy, but which applies just as ruthlessly to your career, your relationships, your personal brand. Every word you speak is a piece of power you're handing away. Every secret you share is leverage you're giving someone else. Every time you reveal your full hand, you make it easier for the world to predict you, counter you, dismiss you. Machiavelli spent years observing how power actually works, not how we wish it worked. He watched princes rise and fall, not based on their virtue or their openness, but based on their ability to control information. In chapter 22 of The Prince, he discusses the importance of choosing good ministers, but the deeper insight is about information flow. A prince must know everything about his state, but his state must not know everything about him. The moment your intentions become fully transparent, you become controllable. The moment your strategy is common knowledge, it stops being strategy and becomes simply a plan that others can work around. This isn't about deception, it's about discretion. It's about understanding that your thoughts are yours until you speak them. Your plans are yours until you share them. Your power is yours until you explain it. The world doesn't need to know your every consideration, your every doubt, your every calculation. In fact, the world respects you more when it doesn't. But we resist this truth with everything in us. We've been raised to believe that good people are open books, that healthy relationships require telling each other everything, that trust means no secrets. We think that revealing ourselves completely will make others love us, respect us, understand us. So we spill our guts. We explain our reasoning. We share our doubts. We make visible every step of our decision-making process. And then we're shocked when people use that information against us, when they lose respect for us, when our transparency makes us transparent in a different way, invisible, weightless, without substance. Consider what happens in everyday interactions. You're at work, and you've decided to leave the company. If you tell everyone the moment you've made the decision, before you've secured your next position, before you've planned your transition, you immediately lose leverage. Your boss starts thinking of you as already gone. Your colleagues stop including you in important decisions. You become a lame duck in your own career. But if you keep it quiet, continue performing, line up your next move, and then announce when the timing serves you. You maintain power through the entire transition. Or think about relationships. You meet someone you're interested in. If you reveal every feeling, every insecurity, every hope you have about where this might go, you hand them complete control over your emotional state. They know exactly how much you care, which means they know exactly how little effort they need to make. But if you maintain some reserve, some mystery about your intentions and feelings, they have to work to understand you. They have to invest energy in figuring you out. They have to care because they're not sure if you care, and that uncertainty creates the very interest that complete transparency would have killed. This is the secret Machiavelli tried to teach, the one that makes modern people uncomfortable because it seems to contradict everything we've been told about authenticity and vulnerability. The secret is this: your inner world is your fortress, and every revelation is a gate you're opening. Some gates should open, for some people, at some times. But throwing open every gate, all the time, for everyone, doesn't make you authentic. It makes you conquered. The world will tell you this is wrong. That keeping things to yourself is manipulation. That strategic silence is dishonesty. That calculated discretion is sociopathy. But these accusations come from people who've already given away all their power and need everyone else to do the same so they don't feel foolish. Misery loves company, but mediocrity demands it. Let's go deeper into the mechanism. Why does revelation strip power? What's actually happening psychologically when you share too much, explain too thoroughly, reveal too completely? The answer lies in how human beings assign value and how respect actually forms in the mind. Jung understood that we all contain multitudes. The conscious mind, the persona we show the world, and beneath it the shadow, holding everything we've learned to hide. But there's another layer Jung identified, the self, with a capital S, the totality of who we are that can never be fully articulated or revealed. The self is mysterious even to us. It contains possibilities we haven't discovered, depths we haven't explored, potential we haven't actualized. When we try to explain ourselves completely, we're not being authentic. We're collapsing the self into the persona, reducing our complexity to what can be easily communicated, betraying our own depth for the illusion of being understood. Every time you over-explain, you're not just sharing information. You're signaling insecurity. You're demonstrating that you need the other person to understand and approve. You're showing that their judgment matters more than your own self-knowledge. And people sense this. They may not articulate it consciously, but they feel it. The person who explains themselves constantly is the person who doesn't trust their own judgment. And if you don't trust your own judgment, why should anyone else? Think about the last time someone explained something to you in excruciating detail, justifying every choice, anticipating every question, leaving nothing unsaid. How did you feel? Probably some mixture of uncomfortable and bored. Uncomfortable because their need for your approval was palpable and created pressure. Bored because they left nothing for your mind to engage with, nothing to wonder about, nothing to figure out on your own. They handed you the completed puzzle, and completed puzzles aren't interesting. Now contrast that with someone who stated their decision clearly and simply, then stopped talking. No justification, no lengthy explanation, just certainty. You might have disagreed with them, but didn't you respect the clarity? Didn't some part of you wonder about their reasoning? Engage your own mind trying to understand their perspective? That wondering, that engagement, that's respect forming. Not agreement, but respect. The acknowledgement that this person has depth you can't immediately access, certainty you have to take seriously, an inner world that doesn't need your permission to exist. This is the emotional cost of constant revelation that nobody talks about. You exhaust yourself trying to make people understand. You grow resentful when they still don't get it after you've explained everything. You feel betrayed when they use your openness against you. And beneath it all, your shadow seethes with rage because it knows what you're doing. You're selling your soul for approval, trading your sovereignty for understanding, giving away your power one explanation at a time. The shadow contains your survival instincts, your appropriate paranoia, your healthy selfishness. When you ignore it to be open and sharing and vulnerable with everyone, you're not transcending your shadow. You're gagging it, and a gagged shadow doesn't disappear. It sabotages you. It leaks out in passive-aggressive comments, in sudden outbursts, in the attraction to people and situations that force you to finally set boundaries because the shadow won't let you ignore it anymore. Here's what most people miss. The shadow isn't trying to make you cruel. It's trying to make you strategic. It's the part of you that understands, on an instinctive level, that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. That some information serves you better when kept private. That mystery isn't manipulation, it's survival. When you override these instincts to be radically transparent, you're not being evolved. You're being foolish. The hidden mechanism runs even deeper. Society rewards revelation not because it's healthy, but because it's controllable. The person who's shared everything is predictable. They're manageable. They've shown you their cards, their strategy, their vulnerabilities. You know how to handle them because they've told you how they handle themselves. This is why corporations love transparency from employees but practice secrecy at the executive level. Why governments demand openness from citizens while classifying their own operations. Why the powerful preach authenticity to the masses while carefully controlling their own image. Nietzsche saw this clearly. The herd, the mass of ordinary humanity, demands that everyone be equally visible, equally known, equally reduced to what can be articulated. Because the person who maintains mystery, who keeps their own counsel, who doesn't feel the need to justify themselves, that person reminds everyone else of what they've given away. That person is dangerous to the herd not because they're harmful, but because they're free. And freedom is contagious. Your persona wants to fit in, wants to share, wants everyone to understand and like you. It's been trained since childhood to be open, to communicate, to make your inner world accessible to others. But your shadow knows better. It knows that the teacher who gave gold stars for sharing your feelings was training you to be compliant, not healthy. It knows that the culture demanding radical transparency is trying to disarm you, not enlighten you. It knows that every secret you keep is power you retain. Power begins when you stop explaining, yes, but it actually begins earlier than that. It begins when you stop feeling like you owe explanations. When you recognize that most people aren't asking questions to understand you better. They're asking to evaluate you, to judge you, to find leverage, to satisfy curiosity that has nothing to do with caring about you. The moment you realize you don't owe these people your inner world, something shifts. A gate closes. A fortress wall goes up. Not to keep love out, but to keep vultures out. Every time you reveal something personal to someone who hasn't earned that trust, you're not being vulnerable in a healthy way. You're trauma bonding, or seeking validation, or trying to force intimacy that hasn't developed naturally. Real intimacy isn't created by revelation. It's created by time, by shared experience, by someone proving through action that they can be trusted with your truth. The person who shares everything immediately isn't intimate. They're desperate, and desperation repels the very connection it seeks. Now we arrive at Machiavelli's core insight, stripped of modern discomfort and revealed in its stark pragmatism. In The Prince, he writes about the importance of appearing virtuous while retaining the flexibility to act otherwise when necessary. But the deeper principle, the one that applies beyond politics to every domain where power matters, is this: control the information, control the outcome. A prince who announces his strategy gives his enemies time to prepare. A leader who shares every doubt with her team undermines her own authority. An individual who reveals every thought, every plan, every vulnerability gives the world a complete map of how to defeat them. This isn't about being dishonest. It's about understanding that warfare, whether political, professional, or personal, is largely an information game. And you're losing that game every time you voluntarily disarm yourself through excessive disclosure. Look at how this played out historically. Caesar kept his own counsel, shared his plans only with those who needed to know, and struck when his enemies thought him predictable. Elizabeth I maintained such careful control over information about her intentions that even her closest advisors couldn't be certain of her mind until she was ready to reveal it. This wasn't duplicity, it was statecraft. The moment your opponents know your full strategy, it stops being strategy and becomes simply a target for their counter-strategy. The Stoics approached this from a different angle but reached similar conclusions. Epictetus taught that we should be indifferent to external opinions, which naturally creates informational boundaries. If you don't care what others think, you don't feel compelled to explain yourself to them. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about the importance of the inner citadel, that part of your mind that remains private, that processes and decides without needing external validation. The Stoics weren't preaching openness. They were preaching self-containment, the ability to hold your own counsel, to be a complete world unto yourself. But here's where people misunderstand Machiavelli and mistake pragmatism for evil. They think keeping information private means being untrustworthy, that strategic silence means you're hiding wrongdoing, that discretion is just a polite word for dishonesty. This confusion comes from conflating different things. Honesty means not lying. It doesn't mean volunteering every truth. Privacy means choosing what to share. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Strategy means timing your revelations for maximum effect. It doesn't mean those revelations are false. Consider a practical example. You're negotiating a salary. If you tell the employer exactly what you're currently making, exactly what you'd accept, exactly how much you need this job, you've just given them every advantage. They know your floor, your desperation, your leverage. But if you keep those cards close, if you deflect questions about current salary, if you project certainty about your worth, you maintain negotiating power. Is this dishonest? No, you're not lying. You're simply recognizing that negotiation is partially an information game, and volunteering information that hurts your position is tactically foolish. Or think about creative work. If you share every idea while it's forming, every draft before it's ready, every doubt about your process, you invite input that might derail something that just needed time to develop. But if you keep your work private until it's ready, you protect the creative process from premature judgment. You maintain control over when and how your work enters the world. This isn't hiding, it's stewarding your creative power. The moral tension here is real, but it's based on a false premise. We've been taught that good people hide nothing, that any form of privacy is suspicious. But this is recent cultural programming, not timeless truth. For most of human history, discretion was considered a virtue. Keeping your own counsel was wisdom. The ability to hold information strategically was admired as intelligence, not condemned as manipulation. The shift happened with the rise of surveillance culture, both governmental and social. When authority wants to control populations, it conditions them to believe privacy equals guilt. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Therefore, anyone who wants privacy must have something to hide. It's brilliant psychological manipulation because it makes people volunteer their own surveillance, share their own weaknesses, disarm themselves willingly. But the truly powerful never fell for this. Corporate executives have NDAs and closed-door meetings. Politicians have private councils and strategic communications teams. The wealthy have trusts and privacy protections. The powerful preach transparency to the masses while practicing secrecy themselves. Not because they're evil, but because they understand what Machiavelli understood. Information is power, and giving it away is powerlessness, no matter what virtuous label you put on it. The application of this law in your life doesn't require you to become secretive or paranoid. It requires discernment. Who has earned access to your thoughts? Who needs to know your strategy for it to work? Who's asking questions out of genuine care versus curiosity or competitive intelligence gathering? These distinctions matter. Your boss doesn't need to know your job searching until you have an offer. Your competitors don't need to know your next move until you've made it. Your extended family doesn't need to know the intimate details of your relationship struggles. Your social media followers don't need real-time updates on your emotional state. Not because you're hiding or lying, but because these people haven't earned that level of access to you, and sharing with them serves their interests, not yours. This is where the law becomes empowering rather than cold. You're not keeping secrets to manipulate. You're protecting your sovereignty, your ability to move through the world on your own terms rather than constantly explaining yourself, justifying yourself, making yourself available for judgment by people who haven't invested anything in you. Machiavelli's secret was never about cruelty or deception. It was about understanding human nature clearly enough to operate effectively within it. People respect what they can't fully know. They value what they can't fully access. They pay attention to those who don't volunteer everything. Not because humans are bad, but because this is how attention and respect actually work. We assign importance to what requires effort to understand. We dismiss what's freely given. The emotional truth of this law is profound. You don't owe the world your inner life. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices unless they're materially affected by those choices. You don't owe transparency to people who haven't proven trustworthy. And the moment you truly internalize this, the moment you stop feeling guilty for keeping your own counsel, you reclaim a kind of power that most people gave away so long ago they've forgotten what it felt like to have it. So where are you now? Standing in your life, realizing perhaps that you've been an open book in a world full of people who treat books as disposable. That you've explained yourself raw, shared yourself empty, revealed yourself invisible. The question isn't whether Machiavelli was right. The question is what you do now that you know he was. This is where Jung's shadow integration becomes essential, where the rubber meets the road. That discomfort you feel when you keep something to yourself, that guilty voice that says you should share, that anxiety that people will think you're hiding something, that's not your conscience. That's your conditioning. That's years of training telling you that good people spill their guts, that healthy people have no secrets, that evolved people are open books. But your shadow knows different. Your shadow has been trying to tell you for years that not everyone deserves your truth. That some information serves you better when kept private. That mystery isn't manipulation, it's dignity. Every time you felt resentful after oversharing, that was your shadow saying, "I told you so." Every time you felt exhausted from explaining yourself, that was your shadow trying to protect your energy. Every time you've been burned by someone using your openness against you, that was your shadow screaming at you to learn the lesson. Integrating your shadow around this issue means acknowledging that you have a right to privacy. That wanting to keep things to yourself doesn't make you cold or calculating or manipulative. That the part of you that wants to maintain mystery and control information isn't evil, it's wise. It's the part that understands survival, that knows how power works, that recognizes when you're being asked to disarm yourself for someone else's benefit. Think of your inner world as a vault, not because you're hoarding or hiding evil, but because what's in there is valuable. Your thoughts, your strategies, your vulnerabilities, your dreams, these have worth. And like anything valuable, they deserve protection. You don't put your money in a pile on your front lawn and hope nobody steals it. Why would you put your inner life on display and hope nobody exploits it? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes crucial. His will to power, properly understood, is the will to become who you actually are rather than who others want you to be. And part of who you actually are is someone with depths that don't need explaining, thoughts that don't require external validation, a self that exists independently of others' understanding. The person who shares everything is trying to construct themselves through others' reactions. They reveal to see how others respond, using those responses to figure out who they should be. But this is building yourself on sand. The wind changes, the crowd's opinion shifts, and suddenly you don't know who you are because you've been defining yourself through disclosure and feedback rather than through internal certainty. Nietzsche's outsider, the one who walks alone before they rise, is someone who's learned to keep their own counsel. They've stopped seeking validation through revelation. They've learned that sharing less doesn't make you less connected, it makes you more interesting. They've discovered that the people who matter don't need constant explanation, and the people who demand constant explanation don't actually matter. The transformation happens in stages. First, you feel guilty every time you don't share something. You fight the urge to explain, to justify, to make people understand. This stage is uncomfortable because you're going against years of conditioning. Your persona is screaming that you're being cold. Your anxiety is predicting that people will hate you. Your old patterns are trying to pull you back to comfortable oversharing. But you persist. You practice keeping things to yourself. You let questions go unanswered. You stop explaining your decisions to people who aren't affected by them. And slowly, something shifts. The guilt fades. The anxiety quiets. And you start noticing changes in how people treat you. They listen more carefully when you do speak because your words have become more rare, therefore more valuable. They respect your decisions more because you're not constantly seeking their approval. They seem more interested in you because you've stopped being an entirely solved puzzle. The mystery you've reintroduced into your presentation makes people curious again, engaged again, respectful again. And internally, something even more important happens. You start respecting yourself, because you're no longer betraying your own worth by throwing it at anyone who glances your way. You're no longer exhausting yourself explaining your existence to people who barely care. You're no longer making yourself small and available and fully known to a world that took your openness for granted. You stop revealing everything not because you're becoming dishonest, but because you've learned that discretion is respect. Respect for yourself, for your own depth, for the sanctity of your inner world. You maintain privacy not because you have something to hide, but because you have something to protect. You keep your own counsel not because you're cold, but because you've finally understood that not every thought needs an audience, not every feeling needs expression, not every plan needs announcement. This is the rebirth Machiavelli pointed toward, what Jung understood as shadow integration, what Nietzsche meant by self-overcoming. It's the transformation from someone who uses revelation as a weapon against themselves to someone who uses discretion as protection for themselves. From someone who spills everything hoping to be understood to someone who shares selectively and accepts that full understanding isn't necessary or even desirable. The practical application is simple but requires discipline. Before you speak, especially before you explain or reveal or share something personal, ask yourself, does this person need to know this? Have they earned access to this information? Does sharing this serve me or just satisfy their curiosity? Will I regret this disclosure, feel exposed, wish I'd kept it to myself? Most of the time, if you're honest with these questions, the answer is no. No, they don't need to know. No, they haven't earned it. No, it doesn't serve you. Yes, you'll regret it. And in those moments, practice silence. Not hostile silence, not cold withdrawal, but simple, self-respecting discretion. The silence that says, "This is mine, and I'm keeping it." Watch what happens. Some people will respect you more immediately. They'll sense the shift, the new boundaries, the self-possession you're developing. Others will push back, call you distant, demand the old version of you who told them everything. Let them be uncomfortable. Their discomfort is proof you're doing something different, something that serves you rather than them. Machiavelli's secret was never really a secret. It was an uncomfortable truth hiding in plain sight. The more you reveal, the less power you have. Not because revelation is evil, but because power requires mystery, respect demands discretion, and influence comes from being known enough to be trusted but unknown enough to be interesting. The people who change outcomes, who command genuine respect, who move through the world with power, they've all learned to keep their mouths shut about the things that matter until the moment speaking serves their purpose. The world will keep demanding you share everything, explain everything, reveal everything. It will call your privacy suspicious and your discretion manipulative. But the wise understand what the crowd never will. Your inner world is your fortress. Every unnecessary revelation is a gate you're opening to invaders. And the truly powerful protect their fortress not because they're paranoid, but because they understand that what's protected remains powerful, what's revealed becomes vulnerable, and what's kept private maintains the mystery that makes people pay attention in the first place. If ideas like this resonate with something deep in you that's tired of performing transparency, if you're ready to reclaim your right to privacy and discretion, then subscribe and keep walking this path. Not everyone will understand, most will criticize, but you're not building a life for most people. You're building sovereignty for yourself. And sovereignty begins the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned that explanation.